Kykar wins Fury versus the Locust God. That's funny, I've just taken the Locust God out of this deck for Elspeth Sun's Champion. Might add it back in, just see how the deck goes. Haven't run it yet, we'll keep that because I quite like the Ponder. And we've got lots of protection spells for Kykar, now all we need is to get into some lands and ramp preferably. So we'll go in for a red and a blue source so that we can Ponder. Oh, Young Pyromancer's good to get into, so let's go Fact or Fiction, Intangible Virtue, and Young Pyromancer. The problem is we're not going to draw into lands, are we? Yeah, we're actually going to have to shuffle that, unfortunately. Alright, we at least get into another land. Would really have liked to hit the Young Pyromancer on turn 2, but then we would have had to draw 2 more cards and then hope for a land on the 3rd, so we were forced into shuffling up there. Kykar wins Fury is 4 mana in Jeskai for a 3/3 flyer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 spirit with flying, and you can sack a spirit to add red. Well, there's another really good 2 mana drop, so let's get that down. Really start filtering our draws with Search for Azcanta. At the beginning of our upkeep, we look at the top card of the library. We can put it into the graveyard if we want to. Oh, a Sol Ring from Locust God, that's not good. And a Search for Azcanta of their own. We're going to have to start being very careful and holding up counter magic for a potential Locust God. Brainstorm we will not throw in the bin. Let's brainstorm first before we decide to do anything else. Oh, there's a Mind Sculptor. I think we can go Elspeth and a land on top. Then we'll play a land and hold up counter magic. The Locust God is 6 mana in Izzet for a 4/4 flyer. You can loot for 4 mana. And whenever you draw a card, you get a 1/1 Izzet insect token with flying and haste. Grim Monolith. Yeah, they're going to go in for the Locust God, I think, so we'll just let that through. And whenever the Locust God dies, you return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. Dak Faden, we don't have any artifacts to get down, so we will allow that as well. They're probably just trying to bait counter magic. They're going to draw 2 cards and discard 2. Dak Faden is another one that I removed from this deck, so I'll be intrigued to see if the 2 cards we've seen so far are cards that we wish we would have. Now, seeing as how we've got so much counter magic, I think we're going to go for the 4 damage onto Dak Faden. And then we will not throw the land into the bin. We want to keep hitting those lands. Now, our opponent, what did they discard? They got rid of an Izzet Charm and a Riverwise Augur. Yeah, we're just going to have to hold up counter magic, I think. How likely is it that the Locust God is going to get lots of flying insects out and kill a Jace? Yeah, I don't think we can risk it. We'll just throw it over. Okay, a Trinket Mage we will allow. And they grab themselves a Skull Clamp with that. Skull Clamp is really good in Locust God decks. And there is the Locust God. Let's go for the counter spell on that. Now, at least the Grim Monolith is tapped down. I think we are fairly safe to try and get down something here. Unfortunately, we're going to have to throw Elspeth in the bin because we're nowhere near her. Another land is more preferable. Let's go for Jace instead of Kykar, I think. I want to get down Kykar with counter magic back up. So let's just brainstorm here. Alright, there's some fetches, a frantic search. Let's put a couple of lands on top. I don't mind drawing into a fetch and shuffling next turn. We'll play a land and pass the turn. No doubt Trinket Mage is coming in at Jace next turn. We may have to minus Jace down in order to bounce the Locust God back to hand. And they ditched an Umezawa's Jitte, that's surprising. They could have played and equipped that to the Trinket Mage this turn, but they have flipped Search for Azcanta, so they can look at the top 4 cards of the library and reveal a non-creature non-land and put it into their hand. Oh, and there's a Gilded Lotus, and they snuck down the Skull Clamp as well. Oh, and Bident of Thassa, so they may go in at us for the card draw. That's exactly what they're doing. They're leaving Jace with 3 loyalty counters on. Bident of Thassa, another card that I was contemplating for this deck. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. We will not throw that in the bin because we're going to shuffle everything anyway. Let's go for blue and red. We're going to have to shock in a Steam Vents. And then we can go for Kykar. And we'll actually Fate Seal our opponent here, because I want to get some more counters onto the Jace the Mind Sculptor so that if they swing in at it, it won't die. We will put Forbid on the bottom. We don't want them having any counter magic, really. And now, whenever we cast our counter spells, we will get into Spirit Tokens. This is a Spellslinger version of Kykar. We have Young Pyromancer, Elspeth Sun's Champion, Mentor of the Meek, all the typical ones that you would expect. Now then, how much is the Locust God? They've got 4, 5, 6 mana. Yeah, I think we have to go for Dovin's Veto on that. Don't want our opponent tutoring. We'll get a Spirit Token because that is a non-creature spell. And now what we can do here is block with the Spirit and then sacrifice it in response, because Trinket Mage doesn't have Trample. It's going to take us an absolute age to get to that limit break, so I think we are going to be brainstorming next turn. Let's block there like that, and then sacrifice it so that the Trinket Mage doesn't die. Our opponent's in top deck mode and we want to keep it that way. They can go for cards with Azcanta the Sunken Ruin though. Okay, Council's Judgment I like very much, so we will not put that into the graveyard. And do we want to transform Search for Azcanta? Don't think I mind actually, so yes, we will transform it. We could do with the mana. Now let's go for a Brainstorm. Oh, Divine Visitation and Monastery Mentor. Yeah, that's something. And we can draw into the cards with Frantic Search, so let's go Land and Arcane Denial on top. We'll go for the Monastery Mentor, one of about 5 creature cards in the deck, I think. Then we'll Frantic Search on our turn. That will get us a couple of tokens. Frantic Search will draw us 2 cards, and we'll discard 2, and then we can untap up to 3 lands. Yeah, we have to keep hold of that Divine Visitation, so let's... I hate getting rid of Council's Judgment, but we can play around the Skull Clamp at least, so let's just get rid of these 2. And then we'll untap there, there, and there. And we will aim for Divine Visitation next turn. Let's swing in with the Flyer. Yep, they are going to force us to attack. We were going to anyway. And we'll just hold up Arcane Denial and the Azcanta. We could get down Divine Visitation by sacking a Spirit, but we're not going to go for that. Untapping the Grim Monolith for 4 mana. So not going for Azcanta. And there's the Locust God. Let's see if our opponent has counter magic. We get a load more triggers because of the non-creature spell that is Arcane Denial. Oh, when our opponent scoops to that, they could have drawn a card with the Azcanta. They chose not to use the Azcanta for some reason, but yeah, that might be the case for the rest of this recording session with Kykar, because it is a control build and people don't tend to like playing against those, so if you're seeing this, I hope you enjoy the next game that I'm sure you're about to see. Kykar wins Fury. versus Queen Marchesa. Haven't played her in a while, have to jump back on that again. Yeah, we have a turn 2 mana rock, which gets Kykar out faster, so we will keep that. Yeah, let's get down a tapped. Doesn't matter if we go for white or blue, does it? So let's go for blue. Much more blue in the deck, if memory serves. I'll pass like that and go over the commanders. Kykar, Wind's Fury, is 4 mana in Jeskai for a 3/3 flyer. We can sack a spirit to get red. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a 1/1 white spirit token with flying. Queen Marchesa is 4 mana in Mardu for a 3/3 with Death Touch and Haste. When she enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent is the Monarch, create a 1/1 black assassin token with Death Touch and Haste. Alright, our opponent misclicked through their turn there, so we're just going to draw an extra card each apparently. I'll just pass the turn straight over to them so that we can get the game underway fairly. I don't think gives either of us any particular advantage. All it means is that we each draw an additional card. Yeah, nothing we can do there, so let's just pass over. Going to be going for the Talisman of Progress next, and yeah, we want to really have as much mana in play as possible before we get down our commander, and that way we can hold up Counterspell backup, or at least pretend to hold up Counterspell backup. But luckily we do have a Dolvin's Veto in hand, so we can counter a non-creature spell our opponent has. And also, we have a friend of the channel that we're playing against in Command D. I'm sure I saw, in fact I know I saw this player up against Jolt on one of his videos recently, so a friend of Jolt and his channel as well. Now, if this is anything like our Queen Marchesa deck, it is going to have a lot of removal in hand. But luckily for us, we can go for Kykar and hold up Dolvin's Veto, can't we? So let's go for just that. And then next turn we've got Mission Briefing into Dolvin's Veto if we need it. Sacking the Warped Landscape, I don't actually know what this does. Search your library for a basic and put it into play tapped. Noteworthy that they didn't go for a white there. Hopefully it's not another misclick. Ooh, Sol Ring. Yeah, if they pass priority here, I would be tempted to go for a wear onto the Sol Ring. Now, do we go for wear on our turn, or do we risk doing it now? Yeah, I'm going to be really overly cautious here, and just do it on our turn, because we can still hold up Dolvin's Veto and Mission Briefing. Oh, and there we go, that's exactly why I chose to do it in that order, and they are going for removal on our turn so that we use the Dolvin's Veto on our turn, which is what you want to do against a control player. So let's go Dolvin's Veto on the Hero's Downfall. We will get a spirit for that. Had we have gone for the wear onto Sol Ring at the end of our opponent's turn, they could have done this in response, and we wouldn't have had the mana to counter it. We've got 5 cards left in hand. We get into more mana, so that means that we cannot afford wear and Mission Briefing onto Dolvin's Veto if we need it for more spot removal, so unfortunately going to have to just swing in with Kykar and pass like that, although actually we could sack a spirit to get rid of that Sol Ring, couldn't we? I always forget about the mana ability. Yeah, let's go for that. So that's right, isn't it? We've got blue, white and blue. Yes, so we can sack this. Go for wear onto the Sol Ring. Get another spirit to replace the one we just killed off. And that puts our opponent's mana down considerably. They get into their white source, so it looks like Queen Marchesa is coming out. Don't really mind if a Queen Marchesa is in play because we can fly straight over and steal the monarchy. Okay, a Hedron Archive, that somewhat replaces the Sol Ring. Doubt they're going to have removal for 2 colourless. We could go for Mission Briefing onto the Wear, and then go for Wheel of Fortune next turn and hope to draw into Counter Magic. Yeah, I think that might be an idea. We'll go Mission Briefing. We Surveil 2, and then give something flashback. Yeah, we can dump both of those in the bin. And then we give Wear flashback. And now we're set up pretty nicely for a Wheel of Fortune. Or are we? Do we really want a Wheel of Fortune and discard away a mana drain? I think we can. We're in a really good spot here, so I think we can just hold off for now. And if they go for discard on us, at least we can counter it. Yeah, if we're drawn into anything other than a mana drain, I think... Oh, Diabolic Shooter, no, we can't have that. We'll get ourselves 4 mana for next turn. And then we get into a Preordain. We can somewhat set up this Wheel of Fortune a little bit first. I want to get the win out as soon as possible because our opponent is not having the best of luck here. Generous Gift, I don't think we need. Lightning Greaves I will take though. And we can play that before the Wheel of Fortune. Get another Spirit. And then we'll go for the Wheel of Fortune, see if our opponent has any luck here with their draws. Alright, how much mana have we got there? Wow, look how many cards we needed to draw before we got into another land. Luckily we got into a land there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We do have Rift, but we don't need it, do we? So let's just play the Serum Visions. Draw a card and scry 2. Yeah, we'll keep Ponder and the Search for Azcanta on top. We'll draw Ponder. Next turn. Now we go for the Intangible Virtue just to drop a lot of damage on our opponent. And we'll give one of these things haste before we put the Greaves onto our commander. Intangible Virtue is Vigilance and +1/+1 to all of our tokens. Then we go Lightning Greaves onto the Kykar. And why don't we play Jace the Mind Sculptor actually, because we can hold up Swan Song as well. We'll draw into that Ponder. This is just to get another Spirit into play. Oh, Divine Visitation is nice. Let's put the 2 board wipes on top. We'll Ponder quickly. Don't like any of those, so we will put them on top, shuffle, and draw. Fact or Fiction's nice. And then we can pass the turn. Big props to our opponent. They are a friend of the channel, like I said, so that's why we're able to dirtle around ever so slightly. Cycling the Forsake the Worldly. And they are at 6 cards in hand. Thaumatic Compass. Yeah, don't think that's going to do anything for them, unfortunately. So we're just going to swing in for lethal. Big props to our opponent for playing it out. Alright, but they've left, so I don't think they're going to see that. But they watch the channel, so maybe they'll see that, and I'll say it to you somewhat in person. A big thank you for playing out the game. It is difficult sometimes to get games with any control commander, but especially Kykar can be a little bit of a solitaire game. So big thank you to that, and get to show some of the interactions off there. Didn't get into many of the new anthems. I think Intangible Virtue was always in there. But I've taken out Monastery Mentor, Young Pyromancer, Saheeli, Elspeth, Sun's Champion, in place of Favourable Winds, Empyrean Eagle, and Gravitational Shift. So yeah, some flying anthems in there, some generic token anthems as well. And yet again, big shout out to my opponent for playing that out, because it does mean that we get to show off a little bit of Kykar. I will continue to try and get games with Kykar, and hopefully we can have some more fair matchups than that. But it is difficult with a more control-y build, because people don't tend to like playing against it, which is understandable because it is miserable. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed those Kykar games. I'm assuming you're going to be seeing 2 in this video. Yeah, I think I'm going to shove 2 together. So hopefully you enjoyed them. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.